Hi, I hope you all are great. Today we will have point of view. So first you have to log in using the aplusstudent.com. Click on your name, move on to language at the grade 6 rather. Chapter is point of view and lesson will be identify the narrative point of view. Hi, yes, I'm sorry. This is grade 6, not grade 7. Let me change that. Thank you also, okay? All right, so let's start now. So the narrator of a story is the voice that is telling or narrating the story. So when you have a narrator, it is the voice that is telling or narrating the story. A narrator's point of view is the perspective from which a story is told. So if you say point of view is the perspective of which the story is being told. So there are three main points of view, and we will take note of the main points or the three main points of views. Okay. So we have the first, which is in first person. That's the first point of view. The narrator describes events from his or her own perspective. Now, the first person narrator uses first person pronouns such as I, me, we, us, first person pronouns such as this. That is what the first person narrator says or tells, okay? Just like you can see here, I waded slowly across the river holding my backpack high above the water, okay? So you have to take note that the first person point of view, it just tells you that the first person uses the first person narrator, and it describes or maybe tell the story in his own or her own perspective. Okay, just like the example here. Then we have in second person, the narrator casts the reader as the character. All right, so in first person, the narrator casts the reader as a character in the story. Okay, so second person narrator uses second person pronouns such as you and your. That is what the second person pronoun uses. Yeah, you turn the page in anticipation, eager to find out where the story will lead. Now, as you can see, it uses you, your. In third person, we have the narrator describes events from the perspective of an outside observer. The third person narrator uses third person pronouns such as he, she, him, and her, as well as characters' name. Now, with a third person limited point of view, the observer's knowledge is limited to what a single character knows and feels. So we have Maria wondered whether her new neighbor's laugh was genuine. Okay. Then we also have the with a third person with a third person omniscient point of view, the observer is all knowing and often reveals multiple characters' thoughts and feelings. So Bernard was confident that the Muller rock would launch without a hitch, but Nina had her doubts. Alright, so you've known the different points of view, so you have to make sure you take note of them. First person is from his own or her own perspective. Second person casts the reader as a character in the story, and then the third person describes events from the perspective of an outside observer. So we have, which point of view does the narrator use in the passage? You kind of remember having some bad dreams, but you can't remember what they were. You just lie there flat as the faded streak of afternoon sun that slants through the western window and impales your bed. As you can see, it uses you. So this is gonna be what? The second person. Okay? Okay, so we have this. You can walk the length of Division Avenue if you've got all day. You come here for the first time and you think all your hopes and dreams have come true. Your life will end happily ever after. Okay, so this is also giving us the second person. All right, so we'll move on to the test and then we will try to answer this. All right, so which point of view does the narrator use in the passage? So we have Jessica stepped into the room, closed the door, and stood with her back to it. My son lives, she thought. My son lives and is human. Paul looked at his mother. She told the truth. He wanted to get away alone and think this experience through, but he knew he could not leave until he was dismissed, first, second, or third. Okay, so we have the third person point of view here. Behind you, the model burns. Before you, cold, unimaginable burn. Chilling cold, the sun so small, so far away. The land and the sky, bleach of color, drained to faint red or blue tints on very shades of gray. You shiver in your vacuum armor. The forced landing has jarred its system. First, second, or third. Okay, so we have what? Third person. Okay, so this is second, all right? Not the third. Okay. Hungry Joe was crazy, and no one knew better than Yosarian, who did everything he could to help him. Hungry Joe just wouldn't listen to Yosarian. Hungry Joe just wouldn't listen because he thought Yosarian was crazy. First, second, or third. Okay, so what do we have? Three. So third person. Okay, thanks for your answers. You can walk the length of Division Avenue if you have got all day. You come here for the first time and you think all your hopes and dreams have come true. Your life will end happily ever after. So do we have first, second, or third? Okay, second one, second person. Okay. Robert talked a good deal about himself. He was very young and did not know any better. Mrs. Pontillier talked a little about herself for the same reason. Each was interested in what the other said. First, second, or third. Okay, so this is first person. So Brian Schrod, so what do you think is this one? Have a look and tell me. Okay, so we have what the third person here. You kind of remember having some bad dreams, but you can't remember what they were. You just lie there flat as the faded strikes of afternoon sunlight that slant through the western window and impale your bed. First, second, or third. Okay, so this is second person. So they walked together for an hour or more without speaking. Ellen was grave and absorbed in the anxious thought of that spring. Jethro was accustomed to adapting himself to the behavior and moods of older people, and he found enough in the world about him to occupy his interest as he walked. First to second. Okay, so this is third person. So Ben's voice drawled on and off, thickened with food and drowsiness. He told of the big moose hunt of his days with the Indians. Listening, Matt couldn't make the man out. To hear him talk, he had been as big a hero as Jack the Giant Killer, but he didn't look the part. He had certainly fallen on hard times of late, no doubt about it. However, he could tell a good story. First or second? All right, so we have third person. So back when I still worked home with Sal, it was easier to pretend that the laughing man didn't scare me because Carl was pretending to. He tried not to show it, but he freaked when he saw the laughing man shaking his fist at the sky and kicking his leg out into traffic. I could tell by the way Sal's face kind of froze. I know all of his expressions. First, a second, or third. So we have the first person. I tugged again at my collar and dragged my feet in the dust, allowing it to seep back into my socks and shoes like gritty red snow. I hated the dress and the shoes. There was little I could do in a dress, and as for shoes, the imprisoned freedom, loving feet accustomed to the feel of the warm earth. First, second, or third. Alright, this is first person. My phone is waiting on top of the pile of dirty clothes right where it landed when I chucked it at the wall early Sunday morning because the constant ringing was making me crazy and I was so tired to turn it off. First, second, or third. Alright, so we have what? This is also the first person. So in June 1959, you're 12 years old, and in 1 week, you and your sixth grade classmates will be graduating from the grammar school you have attended since you were five. It is a splendid day, late spring in its most lustrous incarnation, sunlight pouring down from a cloudless blue sky. One but not too warm, scant humidity, a soft breeze stirring the air and ripping over your face and neck and bare arms. First, second, or third. All right, we have the second person. Okay, that's it for our lesson on the point of view. Can you tell me if you have any question? All right, so since we have no questions, we'll end here. Try to complete this lesson if you haven't done it. See you all next time. Bye.